All right, welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we help content creators and entrepreneurs improve their mindset so that they can achieve financial freedom and all of their life's dreams. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm great, but I'm excited for today's episode. I don't even want to talk about me because I just love seeing the sight of you and our guest speaker together.
How are you doing, Jose?
I'm doing great. I'm really stoked, really happy to be with you next shoulder to shoulder, and to see Michelle on the other side. Next time will be the three of us together.
Yes.
We have a really good episode today. I think everyone who's already listened to you come on the podcast before knows that this is going to be a good one. You continue to be our most requested and most frequently joined guest. So congratulations on that, Jose.
Hmm. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with both of you, and I love to support it anyway. The amazing work you guys are doing. You're helping creators live their dream life and monetize their dream life.
It's beautiful work, but it's difficult work because as creators and entrepreneurs, we move fast. And Michelle, I've got to tell you, being able to slow down here in the jungle has been so fantastic, but not everyone has access to a jungle and the jungle vibration. So today we're going to talk about how some of our listeners can slow down, find stillness, and get better in touch with themselves, their vision, their dreams, and rapidly achieve their goals through a little bit of stillness.
Yes, I'm excited.
Jose, I would love to throw this at you. Why is stillness important?
Hmm. Good question. Right off the bat, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that most of the greatest insights have always come from a moment of stillness. And you can't really it's almost hard to explain what stillness is. It's like trying to explain what love is, what excitement is, because it's a feeling. Either you feel it or you're not, or you don't feel it. We can philosophize about what stillness is. We can create concepts and intellectual ways to be able to try to explain stillness. The best way I could explain stillness is when everything slows down and you can finally hear the voice of God, the voice of yourself, your heartbeat. And everything else is up to each one to experience as they find stillness.
How does that how does that land, Michelle?
It, I couldn't have even articulated that any better myself. I agree. It's kind of like what we talked about a few days ago, Nick, but to me, it's just like, it's whenever I can actually take in and be present, take in everything around me and like be fully immersed in that moment, which takes, honestly, it takes a lot of effort when you're not used to doing that all the time to start getting into that.
Yeah, it definitely takes a village to slow down because there's so many devices and people always competing for our attention and our access. So slowing down has to be a conscious effort, while 40 years ago, it probably did not, right? 40 years ago, you were probably just moving slow. And though none of us were alive 40 years ago, I think we know that our devices and being a content creator, building a business, it's just constantly nipping at you for attention, for problems, putting out fires. So to find stillness in all of that and to create time for meditation and just thinking, being removed from distractions and thinking, I know that's when I have my greatest insights for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, same.
And I could even say that, okay, let's take away the reward or maybe the gratification of the insights. Why don't we go? What are just the visceral, the the first symptoms, or the first benefits that we gain as we experience stillness? Maybe Nick, you want to share what's the difference between waking up going into your cell phone and going into go, go, go mode, which has proven to be very successful. So it's not even about stillness equals success. It's about the quality of life or the lifestyle you experience throughout the journey on this successful life. What will you say are the first very visual differences you feel from waking up, go mode, or waking up and having those moments of stillness, first moments in the morning?
The difference is astonishing. So, a typical morning in New Jersey, I'm in Costa Rica right now, staying with Jose. Been here for like 3 weeks, maybe 2, 3 weeks. But typically in New Jersey, a morning for me, I will wake up and I will pop on a breath work, oftentimes yours, or maybe just something I found on YouTube. And then I'll go on my phone and just start working, start putting out fires, and then maybe I'll go to the gym after. And it's fine, right? Thankfully, my phone is not the first thing I see. However, our routine here has been quite different. A typical morning lately has been about 4 to 5 hours worth of we wake up, we cold plunge, we sit down in front of red lights and we read. We'll do breath work or say a prayer. We'll meditate. We'll go outside and ground. We'll get some sun, have tea, read some more, walk barefoot down to the river, sit on the rocks, soak up the sun like beautiful jungle lizards, jump in the river and cold plunge again and swim, laugh. We'll walk back barefoot and then we'll start to exercise. We'll do yoga. It's it's quite a process. And lately, I have been feeling, even though I'm losing so much time, I'm actually spending it more wisely than ever because then when I do start my work, I am my headspace is completely different than it's ever been. And you don't have to live in the jungle to distance yourself from your phone and create a self-care routine because it's not the breath work alone. It's not the swim in the river. It's the stillness. It's the slowing down. It's the time to think, to clear the mind. I feel like I'm the sharpest I've ever been.
That's amazing.
And I guess like anybody listening to you right now, they're like, okay, there you go, another utopia, another like dream life that maybe I cannot access right now. I'm living in New York, I'm living in Berlin. How can I access this jungle vibration as you said? And you did mention that you don't need to live in a place like this. And the truth is, I'm sure Michelle, you also have the ways you're being able to create your morning flow, your it's more than a practice, it's a lifestyle. How to create a lifestyle that ensures that we can nourish ourselves, that we can experience those moments of stillness, because we know that a epidemic around the world right now is like high cortisol, high adrenaline, high inflammation, and that's from going, going, going. I do even feel that when I open the phone, see all these messages. I was telling Nick, we used to be able to like we had to send a letter to somebody to be able to connect with somebody, or then a telegraph. Maybe that was faster, but it was not just so immediate. And now we live in like in the 1 millisecond uh, lifestyle where you get messages, you get threads, you get DMs, you get packages, everything so fast that our operating system cannot uh, digest this in a way that is holistic, that is nourishing for us. So because we're not here to change the world, the only thing we can do is like change our living habits, our living patterns, our lifestyle, create a lifestyle that actually allows us to slow down and to be able to be very, I think like stillness, this and then this is where the key is coming, is discernment. A lifestyle that creates a very clear discernment so we can choose wisely where we're putting our attention. And when we do, we're full on, and then we can activate our energy and go like super super fast mode like you do. Then you go into your calls and you're like a Jedi, super fast with Michelle in exchanging so much information. But in between those blocks of exchange of information, it's so important, it's necessary to be able to slow down, because you might be achieving success, which is not hard to do if you just devote yourself fully to your passions or to your work, but at what cost? And that's why stillness allows you to ensure that you're not sacrificing the most precious that we have as human beings, which is our time and our health.
We're getting a reconnecting. Are you still with us, Michelle?
Y'all froze
Okay.
at some point. I think the podcast is still going, but y'all froze
Yeah.
for that last part.
Cool. No worries. It should. I know you'll be able to clean it up while we're editing, but I was saying that made me like have to take a deep breath and even find a little bit of stillness right now. The access is worth unpacking. There's a really good story about Napoleon Bonaparte. I don't know if you need to roll the R, but I feel compelled to. Um, where is he from?
It's French. So it's Bonaparte.
Bonaparte.
It's
Okay, cool.
Bonaparte. Yeah.
I've been speaking Spanish.
You sound like Spanish.
Yeah,
That would be good in Spain.
yeah. I've been speaking a lot of Spanish lately. Okay, Napoleon Bonaparte, the tyrant ruler that we've probably heard stories about. I know I had to learn about him in school growing up. But anyway, he had a mandatory rule that because there was no iPhone back then, I'm sure we all know that. So he would receive letters. And he had a rule that no one was able to deliver him a letter until it had been sitting for 3 weeks. So when him and his castle receives a letter, he would make his, for lack of a better word, his secretaries hold on to that letter and give it to him 3 weeks later intentionally. And he enjoyed laughing at how many seemingly urgent matters always resolved themselves. And then the things that are actually urgent, he was still able to take action on, and he was able to take more clear, decisive action because he's not constantly flooded with emergency, urgent, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And although he was a bit of a tyrant to rule so many people and have such a clear boundary, it's interesting because you might want to be building something equally as an empire equally as big, but maybe with better intentions. Your time and attention is still worth creating that kind of boundary around. Um, Michelle, I'm going to throw it back to you because you're really good at setting boundaries. And I would love to hear you just speak on the boundaries that you've set and how they've helped you.
Yeah. Well, just to wrap up what you just said, I think that that empowers people when you're not constantly available. You are empowering them to figure things out on their own, and you're almost helping them do that problem solving and being resourceful. So I'm all about that. I talk about this a lot. Still on Do Not Disturb 24/7. Whenever there's something that is needing my attention, the way that I see it is I know how I'm wired. I like to live in peace. I like to not feel rushed. And although I do have my moments where I can get so hyper focused and get so much done very quickly, I need just as much time, if not double the amount of time, restoring myself, or else I'm not bringing myself to what I feel like I'm meant to do in this world, right? So boundaries, I've looked at it as yes, I'm helping myself, and then also they'll figure it out if they need me right now, and it's that big of an emergency. But it's something you can Google. I'm typically like, I can't answer you right now. Like this can wait, it's not like a life or death situation. And I don't know, I think that whenever I had my burnout in 2020, I just learned how important it was to take care of me. Now, if the way that I'm wired means that, and I feel like this is a lie, but if that means I can't build an empire or have a successful business, then okay. But I don't feel like being fully available 24/7 is equivalent to having a successful business. I think that each person can be successful in their own way. And I've learned that like I'll just let everything come to me. I'm going to stick to what I know I need to do. I'm going to do my best with what I say I'm going to do. I will complete that, but I'm not going to overpromise and be overly available because I know that doesn't help me, therefore it will not help anyone else.
Hmm. And I think we've talked about this in the past about some maybe watching this will be like, OMG, Michelle, you're so selfish. You're dedicating all this time to yourself. You're in do not disturb. But I think the idea of having to sacrifice our well-being for the good of all, or sacrificing, as we said, the most pressure things that we have, which is time and our health. It's so old school, super old school. Don't you agree? Like super old school. I think the new trend is self care, being selfish, not in the way of taking from others, but like being giving yourself the best time, giving yourself the best nourishment. And as you say, you don't believe that because you're doing that, you're not gonna achieve the empire or the success you want. It will just come in a different way, in a much more holistic and also nourishing way. And instead of experiencing a burnout, you will just keep growing at the pace that your body and that your nervous system and that your heart and your consciousness can grow as you build this beautiful empire. Because right now, at the same time that we're sharing this, there's so many Instagram reels. Uh, maybe somebody with also a nose band saying like, you screw daily practices, screw daily routines, work 18 hours, work 25 hours. And it's like, yeah, but what if even doing all of that, it doesn't work out because nobody and nothing can assure you you're going to succeed if you do put that time. And if you look back and you're like, I gave the best years of my life, my health, my time, my relationships with my family, with myself, and I did not make my $100 million, you'll regret so much. In the other side, like you were saying, Michelle, maybe you haven't achieved to that empire, but you're gonna be every single day. I enjoyed my life experience. And I always say, if I was gonna die tonight, would I die with regrets? Would I die with resentment? It's like, no, I took care of myself. I took care of those that I love. Let it be whatever it has to be. So I think we can have it all. We just have to be very mindful and experience moments of stillness to make sure that we are showing up in the best way for ourselves and for the world.
Yeah, and I also know that I just feel like when I'm fully taking care of myself, things that I don't see right now just appear. They just always do. They appear. And it's not that I had to force it or to be someone I'm not. It comes from me being fully who I am. And it's like everything just comes whenever it's meant to and I attract those things. And I also know that like somebody so let's say somebody wants something from me. They think they want me to make a simple video doing X, Y, and Z, for example. But what they really want is my creativity. And if I'm just constantly like a machine putting out what they want, they'll never really get what they need, and I won't be getting what I need. And so I know that setting aside that time for myself is the thing that I can bring to everyone instead of just like constantly giving my time, replying to messages right away. Like I won't do that because I know it's not what's in my wheelhouse. That is not how I'm wired and I have to protect myself. And so I know that being quote unquote selfish or just taking care of myself, which isn't selfish, but I think that that is the best way to help people. I know it is the best way. I don't think I know it is because I've seen it for years now. So I'm just more confident with that.
There is there is actually a term for the feelings and phenomenons that you guys are describing right now, where you're sacrificing parts of yourself to achieve your goals. And that's not the only way to achieve your goals. The term is called self-deading. Self-deading. Putting yourself, it's I've only heard about it about a week ago, sitting in on a meeting with people that it was a meeting about self-deading, actually, and it was very insightful. Um, it's so interesting how we will give up our precious time, our energy, and sacrifice our health because if you're not making time for moving your body, exercising, breath work, putting good food and nutrients and nutrition, if you're not making time for those things, then you are sacrificing your health. And on top of that, sacrificing your time only to achieve some far out goal. Because I know so many people, and I used to think like this myself. I'm not above this level of thinking. It's how I used to think. if I could just work almost every moment that I have, I'll be able to get to the place where I have so much money that now I'll stop self-debting. Now I'll pour into myself. Now I'll take care of my body. Now I'll take care of my health. Now I'll I'll buy the property I want. I'll get the car I want. I'll do the things. But life happens too quick. Life can be taken away too quick, and your time is your most valuable asset. So if you're putting yourself into time debt to achieve your goals, one, you'll become a work addict because you're programming yourself to value only your outputs. And two, you're gonna look back and have regrets. And I don't want any of our listeners to feel like, I mean, sometimes, sure, it's okay to have a late night working and maybe have to sleep in a little bit, but it's not sustainable. So it's okay to have a little bit of time where maybe you catch yourself, there's a little bit of self debt happening. I haven't been going to the gym this much. I've been making progress on that. You can do that. It's normal. Life is always going to come in these cycles and flows, but it's not sustainable and you can't do that forever. And at some point, you have to slow down. It's the only way.
Yeah, or you'll be forced to if you don't do it consciously. Your body will force you eventually to slow down by getting sick or some way. And then you have to reevaluate and slow down and be like, wait, what have I been doing? Have I been taking care of myself? What can I change? What kind of lifestyle do I want to live to where I can be more sustained? Which, I mean, at the top of this episode, you mentioned that working really hard or waking up and immediately working does, you see results, you see some success, but it's not sustainable. So that goes right back to what you're saying. It can work, but if you just continue that habit, you're gonna burn out. You're gonna run on low battery mode. Like it's not good for a human. It's great for a machine, but we're not robots.
And I think this is the other side of story from successful individuals that is not shared so often. I mean, we know that from Steve Jobs that he definitely was able to create one of the biggest technological discoveries and companies and brands and culture in the last 100 years and beyond. And he died with regrets. He died with sorrow. He died with so many wishes unfulfilled and promises that were not fulfilled either. And look how much we can enjoy the inventions, but he did sacrifice the most precious. And I think this is the key. The moment we die, even if we take care of ourselves, if there's a moment we'll have an expiry date. For sure, we're all gonna die. That's something for certain. I can take care of my body, experience stillness, have good moments, quality moments with my loved ones, with myself. And when I die, I'm pretty certain I will not have regrets. You will never be like, oh, I wish I had made more money. I wish I had closed more deals. On the other side, yes, you've done the 20-hour days and you've done the 80, I don't know, like 100-hour weeks, whatever you want to call it. And you've created a great empire. But I'm pretty certain, and obviously I cannot know 100% because it only happens once you're there experiencing this moment. When you die, you will not care about those achievements and that money in the bank account. You will care about the day to day, very mundane, very small steps that you were taking or that you did not allow yourself to take. And again, it's going back to like, we can do it all, but let's not sacrifice the most precious, which is the present moment, stillness, and allow ourselves to navigate with grace.
Yeah.
There's another really good example of this. By the way, if anyone's interested, I'm getting these examples and some of this wisdom and inspiration from Ryan Holiday's book, Stillness is Key. Very much enjoying it. But anyway, there's another example from JFK, John F. Kennedy, our former president, rest in peace, during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And without getting too into the historics of it, during the Cold War, when Russia and the US were staring nose to nose at nuclear annihilation and potentially the end of the world, Russia began in Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis. They set up nuclear warheads in Cuba, which is only 90 miles from the United States. And there was not much the US could do at this time. The options laid out for John F. Kennedy were to essentially blow up Cuba, invade Cuba first, and stop this from happening, or there was a lot of pressure from the American people to do that. There were other options, but they were all going to end up in a war. Maybe it was to blow it up with one of our own missiles or invade Cuba. Whatever the military tactic was is not important. The pressure of the entire earth was on the shoulders of John F. Kennedy. And what he did was stop. And he took just under 2 weeks to decide what he wanted to do. Even though everyone was saying, you have to act now, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. He slowed down. He found stillness. He sat with his thoughts. He read books. He took this time to read. Imagine the world might blow up and he reaches for a book and a meditation pillow. But that's what he did. And he put himself in the shoes of the Russian leader at the time. And he thought, well, why do they feel they have to do this? It's us. We're making them feel like they have to do this. And so he responded, he wrote letters, and he talked with them, and they negotiated a sort of peace deal. And essentially, it was his stillness that likely saved the world, because a nuclear war between the US and Russia, it would have been so, so bad. No one wins in that scenario. And he stopped and he slowed down and he put himself in their shoes and he communicated. And after breaking down with the Russian leaders exactly why no one is going to win here, it landed with them. And that stillness allowed them to make a change. They removed their missiles from Cuba. And then the US also negotiated with them. Look, if you're going to remove your missiles from Cuba, we're going to remove ours from Turkey. And it started to de-escalate. I just got chills, whole body chills. It de-escalated the whole situation when every single one of his advisors was saying, we have to act now. We have to strike first. And he said, what if we sit first?
Wow.
It's a story that's not really talked about much, yet I think it's one of the coolest stories from any of our US presidents, because, I mean, politics can be so stressful on all of us, no matter what country you live in. And it's part of slowing down, right? Most of our presidents and politicians right now, they're not doing that. They're not slowing down and they're making rash decisions. And we don't have to be a politician to fall into that trap.
Mm, no. We do that when we're in a rush in general. That's why people that are like in traffic act out. Maybe they're the nicest person, but then you find them in a rush and they're running late to somewhere and they are suddenly honking and flicking people off and cussing and you're like, "Who are you?" It's cuz they are rushed. They're not in their best mindset because they feel rushed. They feel like they're not present. They're not putting themselves in other people's shoes. They're not thinking like, oh, this could be a blessing that I'm running late. Maybe there's a wreck that I'm going to avoid that, I'm meant to be exactly where I'm at. And so I just think that rushing, that's why I don't like the feeling of it. That's why I try to wake up early. I'm always leaving my house early so I can allot time to get stuck in traffic because I don't like to be late because I like to show up. But I'm also like, okay, well, I'm just going to wake up early so I can slowly get ready and do my routine and all of that. And I just think that there's like just these little bitty habits that I have in my life that other people that are doing well mentally also have, but the people that are stressed a lot and I don't know, that are just kind of blaming everything else don't necessarily look internal enough or slow down enough. And it can be hard to slow down if you're not used to it.
Mm. Then, and I think that's why the key, the example you just shared about somebody in traffic showing up new colors, like getting angry or anxious or yeah, rage, road rage. That's why they call it road rage. And I the key is having a regulated nervous system. That's why
Yeah.
again we're going back to stillness, because stillness it's a practice. Let's say every morning you do 5 minutes of stillness, where super airplane mode, you're just there sitting, or just sitting on a rock, sitting in your bedroom on bed. Just find a moment of quiet stillness. The more you're doing, you're creating this muscle memory. You're priming your body to understand what stillness is. And the more you do, you become that which you are, that what you practice, right? That's like these habits start to become make and shape who we are. The person that you say, oh, they showcase some road rage, is because they don't have a practice of stillness or of mindfulness that is strong enough that it will still overcome any other emotional stressor that happens in their environment. And that's why it's not only about like, oh, I want to be spiritual or I want to be productive at work. Stillness and mindfulness practices literally are priming you to not be emotionally hijacked throughout the day. Because if you are not able to just stay in your center, that's what it's called, to stay in your center. But how do you know which is your center if you didn't have a moment of stillness to be in that center? So I think it's almost like a self preservation tool. Stillness equals being able to navigate this unexpected and chaotic at many times world, and beautiful and exciting world, without losing our temperament, without losing control, and to be fully in that state of stillness, even while driving, even while in a meeting, even while negotiating. You can always find that stillness. The stillness not necessarily has to be while sitting, but unless you do it on a daily basis, frequently, you will not be able to summon this superpower of stillness when you most need it. And you will just be, yeah, emotionally hijacked and say a few things to the most loved one that you didn't mean to say, or to showcase a color that you were not meaning to showcase either in that meeting.
Yeah, and I've told Nick this, but and we've talked about this actually on a past episode with you about how in acting you have to be still because a lot of it is improvisation. And so when I'm in my scene and I'm performing, I'm not, yes, I'm sitting still, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm deliberately moving, but it's active rest. It's like within the stillness that I'm actually able to see everything they're doing, see everything, like all the little facial expressions and call them out and improvise. If I'm nervous or overwhelmed or stressed or not being still mentally, then I'm not able to actually interpret or see any of that because I'm so anxious or so in my own head. And it's the same with creativity in your business and coming up with new ideas or ways to solve a problem. Like our microphones right before we started this episode, like I quickly just like had an answer of one possible solution that we could do because I was just focused on you guys and not on like what I was doing or myself at all. And it's just because I'm just present. And it was actually really hard for me to learn how to be still and how to be present because I know I do have ADHD. I've had it for since I was a kid, you know. My mom loved it. She was like, "I'm not medicating you because I want you to be who you are." And then I got to college and I was like, "I think I need help medically." But I've had to learn how to still be myself and have that mindset, yet learn how to slow down and not let it overtake me. Because I feel like it's a gift. I feel like having that is a true gift, and I see it that way. But I have to like use it to my advantage instead of letting it overtake every single thing that I do every day.
Wow. Emotional hijacking. That's such a good term for it. Yeah. I mean, the three of us, it's very hard to emotionally hijack us because we're present. We know when to move slowly and we give ourselves that space because when you slow down, like Michelle was just saying, you're able to take in what's going on around you. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately as we wander through the jungle. The paths. Sometimes we might look up at the mountain that we're walking up. The most direct path is rarely the easiest one. Yet many people, they just see the top of their mountain and they just want to go right for it. But if you slow down and you find stillness in your life and you find clarity and the ability to hone in your own vision, you'll likely find that there are easier paths, right? The most direct path is not just like work, 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 chop down every tree so we could just go straight up. It's often taking a little path that goes to the left and then it winds back up to the right. And now there's a little stream and rocks to climb up. And so I find it to just be perfectly analogous to life. And no matter what, like you said, if you're fully devoted, you'll get to the top of your mountain. But do you wanna do it in a way that sacrifices yourself, right? Where you're going through the thorns and the spiders and the snakes? Or do you wanna take the trail that maybe it takes you longer? Maybe it actually ends up saving you time, even though it looks like it's longer because it's easier in a way and it requires less brute force. You might actually find that you'll get to the top of your mountain faster.
I also think that could be more fulfilling. Like, I'm just seeing it as like, oh, if you just see the direct dirt path up to the mountain, sure, you know what it's going to be to get there. But if you go a different path, like maybe you find somebody along the way that you were meant to find, and that's super fulfilling, and you get to connect with them and walk up together. Or maybe you're really thirsty and you see an unopened water bottle or something, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know that could be here because I went on this path. Also, I'm the kind of person that I like treacherous things because it gets my mind off of, oh, I'm climbing up a steep hill, and instead oh, I'm going on this rock, oh, I get to go down, oh, there's a stream. Like, it's like more fulfilling and more mentally stimulating and fun to take the path less traveled, in my opinion.
You know what else is interesting that happens when you slow down and you take in what's around you? You might see things that you otherwise would have missed. Kind of like you, Michelle, how you see hearts everywhere you go. Imagine you were a busier person. You would see anything. You wouldn't find beauty in the gum on the sidewalk that's shaped like a heart. You wouldn't see any of that. But because you know how to slow down, you're able to see beauty in many things that I don't even know if all of them look like hearts, if I'm being real, but I love that you see hearts in everything. And it just goes to show that like regardless, when you're going from point A to point B, you'll get there if you're committed. But wouldn't it be nice if you saw all the beauty in the world along the way?
Yeah, and I am a very busy person. Like, my what I'm doing right now in life is insane. There's so many different things I give my all to, which is very difficult, but I've learned this practice and habit of slowing down to where I do see the hearts. They do look like hearts. I know sometimes my husband's like, "They look like a butt." And I'm like, "No, it's a heart." Like, it's let it be a heart. But it's silly, but it's one of those things where it's like I could be in a rush and I don't know. I've been like this since I was little, even with, I guess, ADHD. But even as a little girl, I would see hearts, and my mom would always be like, "Oh, it's God's way of saying He loves you." Like every single time, that's what she said. And I'm 31 now, and I've just kept that with me into adulthood. Like, I don't ever want to lose that sense of that, like, childlike, joy. I want to have that for the rest of my life. And I had a few years where I lost that because I was just so on a hamster wheel. I was so as operating as a machine and doing what others wanted me to do and putting out fires that I didn't need to. And I'm glad that I got back into my body and who I am. But it was scary for a while, and I just wonder how many people lose it, and you can always gain it back, but how many people lose it and don't realize you can get it back?
And that's why these conversations and many that are happening online are so important because when you're living a pretty like high stress, non-present, just go 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 reality, you don't know that there's another possibility. But then they hear Michelle like, "Oh, there's hearts around. Maybe I need to slow down." Or they hear Nick saying, "Oh, the path maybe is not the one that's just in front of my eyes. Maybe I should just go around the corner and find that there's a much wholesome, much more gentle, much more soothing path." And yeah, so that's beautiful to be able to share in these spaces because it just pops the reality that there's nothing else and that there's actually a new way. And I don't know if anybody's watching this and they feel like, how do I start? What would be the first steps? Michelle, what do you say are the like the one tip somebody could do to start seeing hearts on their way to work?
Um, I would say look around. Get off your phone, I guess is my number one tip. I'm very rarely looking at my phone, very rarely. I never do it when I'm around people. If I'm on my way somewhere, especially as a woman, I know a lot of us have to be on the lookout of our surroundings 24/7. I'm sure guys do it too, but like we especially do, especially in LA. Like I'm constantly looking around, even in a grocery store. And so get off your phone and just look up. Not physically like at the sky. Sometimes things are on the ground, but just look around you. Like notice the colors of the things around you. Notice the bird. What is the license plate on the car? Like notice these little details. There's so many beautiful details around us that we can see every day, and calling attention to them and like not subconsciously noticing them, but like directly noticing them and speaking them out loud will start to train you to see stuff.
Hmm. Look up, Nick. That could almost be like a tattoo, or there should be like an app that it prompts on the screen like look up, like it overrides yourself and just look up.
Yeah, you could set like a daily reminder on your phone to do that. Like at a certain time every hour, just alert yourself on your phone,
I
look
think
up.
some people might need to do that every like 2 minutes, every 2 minute reminder.
Yeah.
Look up.
I love that.
What would my tip be? My tip would be to utilize the tools around you. And what I mean by that, when I first started to try and rebuild who I was in like 2018, 2019, um, it would feel weird to be off my phone and like sit quietly and think. It was difficult and it helped me to utilize tools like the Headspace app, which is it's a meditation app. It's really good. And I went through their I think it was just a 14-day meditation challenge, and it's just working you up to think about your thoughts. Many people have thoughts surfacing. We all have thoughts surfacing constantly. It just never stops. We have thoughts, but they're not all real. They're not all valid. They're not all worth listening to and tuning into, because a lot of our thoughts come from a primal place where we're creating anxiety and fear to avoid making a mistake or getting eaten by a tiger. Yet our modern world, well, here, I guess that really is a bit of a risk still. So we have to keep that in mind. But typically, where most of our listeners are coming from, you don't really have that risk, right? Your life is not always on the line. So if all you do is listen to your own thoughts and you never take time to question them, you're not going to be very good at this. You're not going to want to continue doing it because, like you said, it is a muscle. You do have to work it up. And when I did that 14-day Headspace challenge, I started thinking about my thoughts. And I remember specifically doing dishes one day in what was essentially like my frat house. It was not the most cleanly place. It was one of those places where your shoes stick to the kitchen floor because of the way we treated it. And I was washing dishes and I was like, this sucks. It's so dirty in here. Like I just wish I could just change everything about it. And I caught myself thinking that and I was like, why is my mind going to such an awful place? Like why am I complaining doing dishes? Why am I so unpresent, just wishing I was elsewhere? I was like, this is a beautiful home. Let's turn it around. And I started having thoughts like that. And I started working more closely with my roommates to make more conscious efforts to clean, to keep this space energetically amazing, you know? And once I started thinking about my thoughts because I did this headspace challenge, so much clarity came into my life. So much opportunity, chances for growth, peace, anxiety melted away, confidence in myself grew. So that's what I recommend. If you're listening to this and you're like, all right, I don't know if I could do that, get on YouTube, download the Headspace app, just do something guided so you can just follow in steps that are proven and not have to pave your own path to stillness.
Hmm. I think there's a key. No, do something about it. And there's two keys here. One, stop complaining to do something about it. And sometimes it's almost paradoxical that the doing something about it is stillness, which is not doing. But there's so much doing in that not doing. And there's a term for this in Taoist teachings, which is like from it comes from China mostly, and it's like a spiritual path or a spiritual ethos, a spiritual lineage of understanding life, Taoist life. They call it the Wu Wei, and the Wu Wei is the doing by not doing. And like you just talked about it, Misha, like I am doing everything, but I allow everything to come to me. So it's not the act of being like passive and just scrolling or Netflixing in your couch, but you're doing everything without having to search for it. And stop complaining and do something about it. And it's just being in stillness, which you're doing, but just being. And it's very paradoxical for many of us to understand at a certain point, but in the not doing, just that stillness, becoming aware of your thoughts and choosing consciously to replace them for thoughts that are welcoming, thoughts that are positive, thoughts that are uh, creative in force and not destructive, you already start to change your whole life experience.
Yeah. What would your thing be?
Mm. What will my think be?
More specifically, like
Yeah, yeah,
your tip.
yeah. My tip. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, your one tip.
I want tip. I've mentioned this before about non-negotiables. Creating a non-negotiable to have 5 minutes every morning after you wake up, you wash your face, you have a glass of water, a liter of water, to sit down wherever you want. If you have a garden, on the garden, if you have your bedroom, your living room, on your bed, whatever, find 5 minutes to just sit and be with yourself. It's a non-negotiable. And again, you here we're in the jungle, and maybe because of the lifestyle, we can take hours doing many of these practices. I also spend half of my year in places like LA or Europe, Berlin, you name it. There's no chance you can tell me you don't have 5 minutes to just be with yourself. This will be one of the biggest investments you can do for yourself. And if you're the type of person who wants to change the world, you gotta change yourself. So just giving yourself 5 minutes, non negotiable, and you will see how much resistance you will experience at the beginning. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have plenty of reasons and schedules and projects and visions and contacts to be I'm too busy. I don't have the time today. And the day I feel I don't have the time is the day that I need it the most. So just creating that non-negotiable, no matter what. Like even today, we had certain appointments, and even in the jungle, there's appointments, right? You wonder. And I found myself 5 minutes sitting on the bench under the sun, just 5 minutes, just giving thanks to life, to the creation, and I could notice how my nervous system just completely came into very slow rhythm. And then I can go fast again, but just non-negotiable 5 minutes a day, first thing in the morning. Because once you start, you click start, you go, go, go. And we know that. Then we can be very efficient. But giving yourself 5 minutes just to be with yourself is the biggest gift to life, I guess. It's like one of the biggest gifts we can give ourselves is 5 minutes. Nothing. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do it. Just be 5 minutes with yourself.
Whenever I close my eyes, I find that everything in my life comes into clarity. Like it doesn't have to be complicated. When I close my eyes, everything surfaces. Like it is like emptying the lint trap in your mind. If you don't ever empty it, you will have a fire. You have to empty the lint trap in your dryer. You have to empty the lint trap in your mind. And when my eyes are closed, yes, I will have a ton of work-related thoughts. I'll remember an email that's sitting that I have to answer, I'll remember a text that I want to send, but I'll also remember what I care about. I'll start to think about who I am and what directions I'm being pulled in. I'll think about what directions I want to go in. Everything comes into clarity. But if I don't give myself the space to just shut my eyes and just go through the inbox in my mind of what is coming up, what is all of the stuff that's coming up, because the goal is not to sit there and not think thoughts. That can be a useful meditation exercise. But most of the time, I want to close my eyes and just allow anything to surface that needs to. No matter what it is, it's going to come up. Work related things, personal life things, goals, things you've been neglecting, bad habits that you might be identifying. But otherwise, we just operate on autopilot. We just keep going, and then we never give ourselves the space to see where we've been walking. But when you close your eyes, it's like looking around you and you might be like, why am I walking this way? I'm looking to go the other direction. Why have I been walking this way? So, is there anything else that either of you would like to share on this topic?
Maybe just one last sharing. There's always a way. And sometimes the way is just waiting for us to slow down and to experience the way. Instead of chasing the way, chasing the path, just what about slowing down to a point of stillness and just allowing the way to unfold, as you said? Because if not, for sure we'll end up somewhere, but is that where we really want to be? And because most of the audience for this podcast, Creation to Cash Flow, are looking to create and to keep opening ways, and especially in social media and this digital time, everything is so fast paced. Everything is milliseconds of decision making, and everything is created in a way to capture our attention, or we are creating content to capture attention for others. And it's great. It's a technology, it's a tool, but to not get absorbed by the technology and by the tools, to not end up in a place of fight or flight. Give yourself those 5 minutes. Give yourself the opportunity to see hearts on the path and the journey. Give yourself the opportunity to see a new path, even like, oh, go around the corner. Uh, you deserve it, and I know that it will change your life, because if we're sharing this, I think we can all agree is because it stillness has made and is making such a big difference in our life, and we've also been in the go 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 mode. That is the biggest gift we can just share with the world, is just like give yourself some moments of stillness.
Yeah.
Jose, where can people find more of you, support some of your visions, and access some of the wisdom that you've now bestowed on 4 of our episodes?
Mm, beautiful. On Instagram or TikTok is at Jungle Vibration. Then I will share with you guys so you can put in the bio. I have a breathwork, the one you mentioned. Maybe it's a new one because I keep upgrading the breathworks. It's not 5 minutes, guys, just in case, so you don't message uh, Nick or Michelle saying it was not 5 minutes, it's 17 minutes. Because I know if you can give yourself 5, why not 17? And it's for 17 minutes of breath work, of mindfulness, contemplation, to be able to experience stillness. And that I will give you the link, but it's freedom.jose Reynoso, Reynos.life. And you'll get the link anyways. And I can assure you, if you do those 17 minutes guided by breath, your life will change. And yeah, and then for sure you can find more of me with these beautiful beings. It's always exciting to be in your podcast, Creation to Cashflow.
I do that breath work all the time, and it never gets old. It always feels new because it's not really about what he's saying in it. It's about what you find in your own stillness, and that never changes. And that's why a breath work like this is so valuable, because you get something new every single time. And what about your nonprofit?
Mm. Yeah, this is a nonprofit that is supporting indigenous communities. One of my biggest passions is being able to preserve lots of the knowledge I've been sharing here, and then that gets passed down, and then gets passed down, comes from ancient traditions, from the indigenous wisdom ways, and they're going extinct. We're not gonna blame who it's the fault. It's just happening, but there's also a way to support them, and that's what I've been doing. It's called Terra Keepers, which means Earth Keepers. Terra Keepers because they are the Earth Keepers, but we are also the Earth Keepers. So if you just want to know more, just go at terra.keepers and you can find more information, trips to the jungle, ways to support the projects because we're helping them build a new community house, a water well. It's really exciting because I know we, it's in the good of all and the interest of all to be able to preserve those that preserve the earth. Hmm.
I'll be sure to put all of the links to those things below. Even if you don't have the means to make a donation to the nonprofit, go follow the Instagram account. Go share a like or a comment when you see their posts, because in order for us to keep sharing this kind of amazing wisdom that Jose and I might bring to the podcast, it's important that we look at those who create a lot of this wisdom in the first place, and we support them in their efforts for clean water and housing in the jungles of South America. So, Jose, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for joining this podcast. It was so fun to have you. Michelle, anything else to add?
No, thank you so much again for joining us and for your time. I love having you on our episode. So, very,
Mm,
very grateful.
thank you, Michelle. Always a pleasure.
Well, guys, we'll put the links to everything in the bio. That's episode 103. So if you're looking for more ways to monetize your creativity, find more freedom in your life, make sure that you're subscribed, rate, review, check out all of our resources. We love you, and we'll see you next time.